an important component to any IT asset management system is how do we get the assets in there. We've talked a lot about our integrations, and we know that that's kind of a really important point and an important feature set, essentially. So the integration is how we get lots of information in VIZOR. But how else, Dean, can you illustrate some different ways how we can bulk add assets to VIZOR?
Yeah, and I think it's worth underlining that point that, for a lot of schools, then they tend to start off with an integration with, say, the Google Admin Console, so any Chromebooks which are provisioned or even pre-provisioned. So if you're using ZTE, they're going to come straight through into VIZOR, and you can start to manage those assets. Maybe assign those assets to schools even before they're shipped from the supplier.
And anybody not sure, Dean, ZTE, zero touch enrollment, something that
yes,
we certainly encourage all of our districts to look into for their service providers. Zero touch enrollment, making things very, very convenient, easy for distribution as well. It's got a lot of benefits. Zero touch enrollment does.
Yeah, absolutely. And away from the Google, then we have integrations with for Windows machines, with Intune, for iPads, with Jamf. So there's lots of options there. But often schools come to us and they're using a spreadsheet, or they have another list of assets, and they want to get those assets into VIZOR. So let's quickly demonstrate how we do that. So if we click Add Assets, and I will say there's different ways of doing that. So I'm going to use a sort of interface here, but there is different ways in which assets can be added into VIZOR, and I'll talk to those in a moment. Well, firstly, we need to let VIZOR know what information we have and therefore what we want to import into VIZOR. So we can go in here. So if we have model information or notes or manufacturer information or allocated to information, then we can let VIZOR know that, and we will take that information during the add process, so during the creation process. So in this case, I'm going to keep things sort of pretty simple. So we've got asset tags and we've got serial numbers, and we'll just use that information to add these assets. So right at the top, VIZOR needs to know what assets we're creating. So maybe it's we just brought some projectors, or maybe some sort of smart boards, or Chromebooks. So let's say sort of laptops. And then we have an option to work with a barcode scanner. So here we can essentially scan the serial number of the device, and so I have nothing as fancy set up, but if we scan the serial number, then that will populate this field and then automatically place the serial number into here, and then we could scan the asset tag if we had that, and then that would create the asset tag as well. So this is an integration point we have with a barcode scanner, where you can scan the serial number on the bottom of the Chromebook, scan the asset tag, and then it will create those assets based on those serial number and those asset tags. So now another way we can do this is maybe you have a spreadsheet with this data, your supplier's giving you a spreadsheet of all of the serial numbers, so you could just paste those into VIZOR. So in this case, what we have, this first number before the comma is the serial number, and the second number after the comma is the asset tag. So we can see this sort of VZ laptop 0001, and what this will do is we'll create those assets within VIZOR using that serial number and using that asset tag. Now, a question schools often ask is, well, can VIZOR create an asset tag for me, so I don't need to create an asset tag, it will create that number for me? Well, yes, we can. So what I'm going to do is just remove these from this list. Just check we've got 0 there, and I'm just going to paste in a list of serial numbers. So again, these could be the serial numbers which have come from your supplier. So in this case, we have the serial numbers, and we've told VIZOR that we want to create laptops based on these serial numbers. So if we click Finish, then what VIZOR will do is it's going to create 25, in this case, assets in the system using the serial numbers which we've just pasted into VIZOR. So there we go, it's just completed that. So what I'm going to do is just show you sort of how that looks. So in fact, if I just search for laptop right at the top here, then we can see that VIZOR has created those 25 assets. So using each of the serial numbers here, and it's created an asset tag for us. So I didn't supply the asset tag, I just left that blank, but VIZOR's created this asset tag, a unique asset tag for each of the serial numbers we've provided. Now, how we do this, so we're going a little under the covers here, but if we go into the administration area, then what we can do is see for the asset tag field, we have this default value, and this default value, so it starts with the VZ, so I could change that. So we could put like AB perhaps, and then it's going to have an abbreviation of the asset types. That's where the laptop comes from, and then it's going to use the next number and place and format that number with making it essentially sort of 5 in size. So that's where the 00s are coming from there. But you can change this to whatever you want. So you can place hyphens in here. It could be an abbreviation of the location. But I guess the important thing I really want to point out here is that VIZOR is generating that asset tag for you based on the format which you want to use, and populating that data for you. And this is where you can configure that. I did mention there is, so that was using the UI. If you've got this data in a spreadsheet, you can bring that data in, import that spreadsheet into VIZOR as well. So in this case, in the spreadsheet, we're telling VIZOR that we're going to create some laptops. We've got a unique value, so this allows us to identify this particular asset. So if we come back with another spreadsheet, for example, we can easily find that asset. And what I've done is just use the serial number, because that was a kind of a unique value anyway. So I have the serial number, and I can write the asset tag in here. So if in a use case we sometimes work with schools here is that they already have a barcode system, so they've already got asset tags. So in this case, the serial number, the asset tags they already have, and then upload this spreadsheet into VIZOR. If you didn't have asset tags, then we could just clear that, mark that as blank, and we'll create the asset tags for you. And there's lots of other fields, so this is not just serial numbers and asset tags. If you've got manufacturer information, we mentioned warranty information, importing warranty information into VIZOR earlier. So this is where you can import any data about your assets. So it could be Chromebooks, but about any of your assets, and how you can bring that data into VIZOR. So what I'm showing here is a template, so you can download this. So when you go to the import operation in the configuration area of VIZOR, you can download this template and then populate this data with the information you want to bring into VIZOR. So if you have a tool which is creating this information for you, then that tool can push that spreadsheet to VIZOR to a secure FTP location. Will process that data for you automatically, so you don't even need to export, manually import into VIZOR. It's all happening under the hood for you. Another way assets can be added into VIZOR is during a purchase. So when you create a purchase within VIZOR, so we're going to say, well, we've purchased 25 laptops, so we've got the 25 here, and we've got this little switch which will auto create the assets. So this will create 25 laptops using the purchase information. So we've got how much we paid for the asset here, and we could enter location information as well. So that's another way in which assets can be added into VIZOR. And really, there's lots of different ways you can create assets in VIZOR. So through an integration with your network discovery, so with that's Google Admin, Jamf, by creating them using the UI as we just did, maybe getting support from a barcode scanner there, from a spreadsheet, or from purchases as we have here. Ultimately, there's different advantages to each, so our team will work with you to work out which is the best way for you to get your assets in there.
Yeah, and like you said, Dean, I think that's something that each one of the districts that we work with, that's one of the first thing. Well, it's amongst the first things that we're doing there is, setting up sort of the environment, kind of having discussions with the team, so the tech lead and the districts themselves, having conversations about their environment, getting to know each other, and understanding what the kind of pros and cons are to different methodologies, and then making recommendations based on the environment of that district, as well as the capabilities of VIZOR. I think the important point to note is that we can support all sorts of different methodologies, improve those methodologies, and certainly automate them. But having a technical lead that you have these types of discussions with in terms of determining what makes most sense, I think, is really important here as well.